Upchurch is going to give you an update and discuss a little bit about the schedule and outstanding issues. So again, we thank you all for coming.
Okay, thank you again for being here. This is not intended to be a big news conference or major news. We were trying to come up with a format that we could just get people together in what we call a round table to just talk about what's happening with the schedule and the progress that's being made on the Rosemont environmental analysis. And so that's why we have this kind of a format here. But thank you for coming, because we think it's important that we let the community know what's happening with this analysis, which has been going on for many years, and we think it's important to let the public know what the progress is and where the Forest Service is in our analysis. So I'm Jim Upchurch, the Forest Supervisor. Jamie Kingsbury here is my acting Deputy Forest Supervisor. And so we're working diligently on this analysis. We had originally intended to try to have a decision as soon as potentially December. However, that date is not going to be met. It's dependent. The analysis is dependent on many different things, and before I can make a record decision on this, I have to be assured that we've met all the required laws and requirements that I have as a decision maker before we can go forward with the record of decision. So the record of decision will not be made available in December of 2012, and the exact dates are hard to predict, and I don't like to just keep putting out dates and hoping that we'll make them and then have to tell you that we're not going to make that date. There are so many different things that are happening with this complex analysis that I'm going to try to let you know about, so that you can kind of have a feel of why it's very difficult to say, well, it's going to be done on this particular date. So we're trying our best to anticipate what those time frames are and to keep you appraised of where we're at with that particular, with this analysis. But first of all, I do want to say that substantial progress has been made with the analysis, and many additions and different analyses have been undertaken since we issued the draft EIS back in October of 2011. So it's been just a little over a year that we issued the draft. After the draft was sent out, we received 25,000 comments. And as I've told various groups, not all those 25,000 were form letters. They were, in some cases, very substantial comments, which the public, who was obviously very interested in this project, sent us, as well as other agencies and departments. And so to go through all those comments and to start trying to figure out how we're going to address those comments is essentially a lot of what we've been working on for the past year. So if we got a comment that indicated that we still needed to do some additional analysis, we couldn't just say thank you for your comment and move forward. We needed to address, you know, how are we going to answer that in a substantial way. And in some cases where it was indicated to us that we had some missing holes, then we needed to undertake some additional analysis. So the additional work that needs to be completed are various things, and I'll try to go through those and let you know where we're at. And after I'm done with this initial statement, then I'm happy to sit here and answer questions and hopefully add some clarity as to where we're at. So the major work that we're working on right now is Section 7 consultation with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. That's a required under the Endangered Species Act for us to consult formally with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. And that's because we have threatened and endangered species within and adjacent to the project area. And so with that analysis, we've had several things come up during that have added to what we need to report back to Fish and Wildlife Service so that they can complete their biological opinion. We've had a potential or a proposed listing or designation of critical habitat for jaguar. We could have waited till the end of the year comment period, which Fish and Wildlife Service is currently in, to address that. But we thought it was more prudent and better efficiency for us to go ahead and address the critical habitat potential designation of jaguar at this time. And so that's added to the workload of having to consult and work with Fish and Wildlife Service on that. So right now they're projecting somewhere around January of 2013 to actually have a draft of a biological opinion, and then we have to work with them on reviewing that draft and then hopefully coming up with a final in a period of time as well. So certainly that's one of the rationale why we're not going to be having a decision in December. In addition, we're currently working with all of our tribes under the requirements of the National Historic Preservation Act. Section 106 is what the consultation section of that particular act is, which requires us, and we also have a trust with all of our tribal partners to ensure that we consult with them faithfully and as substantially as we can to address their issues and concerns that tribes have with this particular project. We have over 80 potential sites on the project area that could be affected or impacted by this particular project. These are cultural and historic sites. And so we need to work with the tribes to try to develop how we would treat those sites if this project were to go forward, how to address and mitigate some of the effects that we're going to have with that. So that's an ongoing process, and it is not something that happens overnight. It's a lot of back and forth discussions, and we have had a very good working relationship with the tribes over the last month or two. We have ongoing meetings scheduled with them, and it's something that is, I think, we're making really good progress on, but it's a project and it's an effort that's going to take some time to do. We also are coordinating with Army Corps of Engineers on their 404 permitting requirements that they have, and because they're using our environmental impact statement to help them address their 404 permitting process and some of the mitigation measures that they have with that permitting process meld right into our analysis. And so they're ongoing with theirs in a parallel fashion. And so I've got to coordinate with how they keep to their schedule. And so that's unknown to me at this point as to how they're going to be able to finish up their permitting process. So that has to all meld together at some point in time. We're currently awaiting Rosemont to provide us several points of information. And so we're awaiting a complete package of the mitigation measures that they're proposing for this particular project that address the impacts that this proposal will have on the resources. We're awaiting additional air quality modeling from Rosemont. We've asked them to go back and do some modeling that meets the requirements of the Environmental Protection Agency, the National Park Service, our requirements, and so that's taken additional time for Rosemont to do that. So we're still awaiting that package of information. And then back in, it's been back in the summer that Rosemont updated their feasibility analysis and proposed some changes to that analysis. And so back in August, I wrote them a letter asking them to provide us additional information on what those changes meant. And if you've been hearing in the media, we've gotten requests from Congressman Grijalva's office and Congressman Barber's office on how we're going to address those changes. So what we've done is, even before I got the letters, quite a while before, we asked Rosemont to respond to those changes. And so I've got a list of questions that they have responded to somewhat, but I still have some outstanding issues with that I need them to answer. So I'm still awaiting Rosemont to respond to some of those as well, and I've got a letter that will ask for further clarification from them on that.